Welcome back to the new SEC podcast. I'm Hunter Ziesman. He's Randall Liddett Jr. We're talking Ole Miss football. The new AP poll is out. They are sitting at 21. Ole Miss Rebels are 21 after finishing last season, 11th in the poll, 10-spot drop. We are wondering here, are they underrated or is the 21 spot just right?
I'm seeing a really good team. I'm seeing a properly rated team for this AP poll. And here's why. When I look at what this team is returning, of course, there's a lot of players. We all know who's left on offense. We know about Jackson Dart. We know about Jordan Watkins and Trey Harris. But I'm looking more so at the teams ahead of them in the SEC in the poll return more production that's proven across the board. So you got A&M at 19 ahead of them. They're returning their quarterback and all their running backs. You got Oklahoma at 18. People are pretty confident that John Mateer is going to be a good quarterback because he played for a full season at Washington State. Then you got Florida 15. DJ Lagway had a nice 7-game sample size, and then South Carolina at 13. So I feel like the 21 rating, based upon the other SEC teams ranked ahead of them that have more returning production, is fitting.
Yeah, and it's a gamble on what the new wave of this Ole Miss offense will look like. And will they be solid? I think there's a question mark there. Austin Simmons, in the very, very limited sample size from last season, looked pretty good. Reports from camp, he looks really, really good. He looks like a leader for being as young as he is. So I do think that there's optimism around this offense. I don't think there's any reason for, like some other teams in the SEC maybe are feeling a bit uneasy on what it will look like. I do think there's a ton of room for optimism. They didn't fall out of the AP poll. There's not that this is the end all be all, but for a team that's starting SEC play so early, your ranking early on does matter a little bit. I think there's a lot of optimism there. I think there's a huge amount of optimism defensively.
Yeah, I mean, the defense plays a key role probably in that number 21 ranking, right? You bring back your leading tackler, TJ Daugherty. You got a ton of production coming back with Sertain Perkins as well from a tackling perspective. I like this defense a lot. Lane Kiffin has been proven to be a portal wizard. And so in addition to the players that are returning, he's also got a lot of production coming in the portal with Prince Will Umalayan. If I said his name right, probably not. But I like this defense a lot as well, despite everything they lost last year from that team.
Yeah, I mean, you bring in, I think the linebackers for Ole Miss right now, like you mentioned them, are going to be the core of this team. I mean, one of the best defenses in the SEC last year. You return, like you said, Sertain Perkins, Daugherty at linebacker. They're going to anchor that. I mean, we saw it Princely, butcher his name again, Umalayan. You bring his brother in from Nebraska to kind of pick up the reins of where he left it in an insane pass rush perspective. Secondary is going to look a little bit different. They bring in 4 new cornerbacks, but I love what the pass rush can do. I mean, they really disrupted teams last year. And, South Carolina, there was a lot of teams that really were just like feeling heat from this Ole Miss pass rush, Georgia. So I don't expect any fall off in that perspective.
No. And I mean, and the bar was set so high, right? You had Chris Paul last year. You had Walter Nolan last year. I mean, and a lot of the guys, this pass rush was kind of like 6-7 deep, right? So they had Xavier Brown getting production last year. Jamorius Brown got production as a sophomore. So he was a true freshman playing last year, coming back as a sophomore, 20 tackles. I think he had like two tackles for losses. So I really like what this defense is doing. And then offensively, and what to me anchors the 21 rating is, why wouldn't I trust Lane Kiffin at the quarterback position to this point? He brought Jackson Dart in a couple of years ago. Then he brought in Spencer Sanders to compete with him for the job, stayed with Dart. This year, he only brought in 1 transfer quarterback from Ferris State. I trust if Lane Kiffin thought there was a better quarterback out there in the country, he would have had him on this roster. So I'm really a firm believer in Austin Simmons because of that and because of the lack of moves that he's made in the portal.
Yeah, and I believe offensive coordinator made the comment that where Austin Simmons is at right now is a better spot than where Jackson Dart was when he came to Ole Miss 3 years ago. So they're feeling confident at where he's at. They believe in him. They said he's leading the team well, just from reports from this offense in camp so far. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll offer a little bit more on the ground. We the running back position is a little bit underexperienced at Ole Miss right now.
Yeah.
He'll be able to offer a little bit there. Great offensive pickup. You don't have a ton of returning. You have, Caden Lee and Daquan Wright returning, but you have Dejon Stribling out of Kapolei, Hawaii, Pac-12 receiver for the last 4 years, fifth year. You bring in Harrison Wallace from Penn State. I like what these two guys are going to be able to bring. I think Stribling will be a huge pickup.
I think so too, right? And they got Logan Diggs coming in the portal from LSU. He had a pretty good season in 2023, not as much production in 2024 from the running back position. So it's in the portal era, Kiffin cooks, and I can't help but trust him in the kitchen. Kiffin in the kitchen. So I expect this team to do pretty well. Going back to that 21 rating, and with all the returning production, the players they brought in, we were talking about it before we went on camera. SEC aside, I like this team compared to a Michigan, to be honest, personally, because when I think about proven quarterback production, everyone else in the top 21, besides Indiana and Michigan, have a proven quarterback that has played some major Division I football. So 21 feels right. You might maybe you move them up to 20, like you mentioned, because of Indiana, and the fact that they're not returning Curtis Rourke. But there's something to be said there about this rating.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks this year that have played some games. I think that Austin Simmons has played less than a lot of those guys. When you're talking about, Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, so Arch Manning. So he's played less. He's played less than a lot of these guys. There are a lot of young guys, but I think he'll be able to roll right in there with them. Where they're at as far as ranking and teams that kind of sit around that, I do have this team finishing around 8-4 on an average day, 9-3 on a good day, 7-5 on a bad day. They have a harder schedule this year than last year. I think that they start play really early. So if things aren't meshing, you're hitting the road at Kentucky. We know how the Kentucky game went last year. On the road at Kentucky in week 2.
Yeah, you got Kentucky at week 2. That game was close last year, and then things get a little more interesting this year with Tulane, right? Now they got Jake Metzclaff, formerly at BYU. Now he's at Tulane. So I mean, it's like that might be a tough one. They're coming, of course, to Oxford, but that's a tough Group of 5 team to play now with a proven Big 12 quarterback. Then you got LSU. You're trying to avenge that loss from last year. This schedule doesn't really do them any favors. Washington State, I'm almost like, why did you schedule that team? It doesn't really help you from a playoff perception. It's really just more of a trap game. And then it's Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida. That's 4 straight ranked teams, with Citadel sitting in the middle between there. So it's or not Citadel. Citadel sitting in the middle between there. So it's a tough draw for them for sure.
It is. Yeah, it'll be tougher for them, where I have them potentially dropping games. They travel to Georgia, to Oklahoma, followed up by South Carolina. I have that being a pretty tough 3-game run there. I like them to start out the season. I think LSU will be a tough one. 21, I feel like is about right. So, they could have been potentially a little bit higher, but like you said, I don't know who I picture them over. I think Indiana would be the only one that I would see them being ahead of them.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm with you. I'm kind of more on the 8-4 side. I would put them probably ahead of Indiana. And I know we had our talks about the Big Ten versus the SEC last year, and does Indiana deserve to make the playoffs? But if Missouri's not in the poll, I'm like, why is Indiana in the poll? Like they're probably just in there because they need to put on their Big Ten team. Story for another day. Yeah. Back to Ole Miss, they're right. The 21's the right number. 8-4 is my prediction. That 4 or 5 game stretch between Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Florida will make or break the season for me. But we want to know what y'all think here. This is a new SEC podcast. I'm Randall That Jr. Got Hunter Ziesman, and until next time.